And the good stuff today, the first good stuff, is going to be from your boy Jordan B. Peterson himself. And I basically went onto his YouTube channel and looked at whatever the most recent stuff was, and I thought to myself, what is the most Jordan Peterson-y title to a YouTube video? Like, and I went through it, and I think I found it. I think I found the one that it spoke to me, and maybe it'll speak to you as well. Do you guys want to watch a 10-minute Jordan Peterson video about how to integrate your shadow self? While two men, one of which named Jordan Peterson, is guest Robert Greene, whoever that the fuck is. These two men, titans of thought, earnestly talk about the concept of integrating your shadow self. Okay? I'm very excited. I love the best thing about Jordan Peterson is how fucking dead serious he is about himself. You know what I mean? That is, it's like, it's delightful. Sounds pretentious? Yeah.
So I have a friend, he's a really good friend of mine, and I've known him since I was in college, and he's a tough guy. I mean, he grew up in under rather poverty-stricken circumstances in northern Alberta, really on a frontier piece of land. Like, it had only been broken 50 years before by his father, who was a longshoreman and an ex-military guy. Good.
Why does he do this, by the way? I feel like Jordan Peterson knows like a million down-to-earth, rural Canadian folks, and he is it sped up? It might be. Yeah, I sped it up. 1.5. I'll give you 1.25. We'll see if you can last that long. He like always tries to establish that he has some sort of like street cred with the pores, and I respect that. That's a good look. That's how you get the right wing vote, dude. Oh yeah, pores. He doesn't seem well since the coma, does he? No, he doesn't.
Guy, his father. But this guy grew up, and he is tough. He worked in lead smelters, and he wandered around Western Canada. He was my roommate when I went to college, and is still a good friend of mine. And he ended up working with like delinquents. He went into social work, oddly enough, and he ended up working with some of the worst delinquents in Canada. And he's a really good guy, and he likes to help people get better. But he isn't naive at all. And then part of the reason that he was good at working with the delinquents was because there were no tricks they could get up to that he couldn't see right through. And that was partly because he had a real integrated shadow. I mean, I'll give you an example of him.
We're in the middle of a conversation, but he just tossed the term, he had a real integrated shadow out. Man, do I love this. It sounds like they're like, you ever talk to somebody who plays a lot of D&D? I sure do. And like, you just haven't played D&D, and then a bunch of people talk about their characters. That's the kind of thing. Oh yeah, he's a shadow cleric, and he has some problems. His parents died tragically from a dragon. The Chaos Dragon. Cappy Corn, thanks for the 3 months. Appreciate it.
In this town called Grand Prairie, and it was at the height of the oil boom. And so it was a rough town, and there were lots of rough bars in it, and lots of young men in there with plenty of money and they'd come in for 3 days after being out in minus 40 weather working on the oil rigs, and they were ready to party, man. And we had a party one night in this kind of frat house that I went to college in, and
Can you imagine Jordan Peterson at a party, dude? Can you imagine sitting there? Okay, you're just chilling, right? You're vibing, like. I don't know what Jordan Peterson. What's on at the radio at Jordan Peterson's party? Like, I don't know. I'll wear my sunglasses and you're just chilling, and like the weed comes to you, and you're you're vibing. Take your hit, and the next person over is Jordan Peterson. How do you happily pass that joint to Jordan Peterson? That's what I want to know. How does he improve your experience? I feel like terrible in the blunt rotation. Doodle Burb, thanks for giving a Cane Malice. I appreciate it. Nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
Way too many people showed up, and some of them were real troublemakers. And we had a table that was pretty full of beer bottles and vodka bottles and so forth. And one guy just went over and like tore the leg off and knocked the table over. And
okay, dudes be doing this kind of shit. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the shadow self. Maybe that's what it is. The shadow self. We got to get our aggression out, chat. Wait, do you think the shadow self is about dudes being bros? but in like the shitty toxic way? Do you think that's what Shadow Self is? And they're saying like, hey, dudes should be able to like punch fucking walls sometimes. They got to get it out somewhere. You know what I mean? You know what it is. Anyway, dudes are like that sometimes, for sure. So I grew up in the country. Okay, chat. How many country folks do we have in chat right now? I know there's some of you, but I grew up in the Midwest, in the country, dude. Farming and shit. And we used to have like big fucking like parties because there's nobody out in the middle of the woods. We would have parties in like dudes' big backyards, and it was like senior year. It was like one of the big last parties before everybody sort of like split up and went on to real life. And I remember a lot of us were drunk, and there was people that were high, and like for some reason, I don't remember why, there was like a discarded, you know how it is sometimes in the rurals, and sometimes in the city too, but that's a different kind of party. That's more of like a block style party if this is happening usually, or at least the neighbors are invited. This was just on a private, country lot. Someone had discarded a washing machine in the middle of just the fucking lawn. And as a show of his dominance and manliness, one of the big football player boys, and he was a big guy, he was really drunk. He decided that he would run full speed and smash into the laundry machine and like dent it and like tackle it. And then a bunch of the other fellas did that. That's the end of the story. I don't understand why that happens, but I imagine that Jordan Peterson would say that's how you integrate your shadow self. That's your shadow self, the one that's a troublemaker.
Then a bunch of us got together and chased them all out. And this friend of mine, he said, "Oh, they'll be back." And so he went upstairs and he put on some steel-toed cowboy boots. It was just like a bloody Western. He came marching down the stairs. And just as he entered the living room, there was a big knock on the front door. It was these hooligans coming back to cause grief. And he just didn't break stride. He opened the door. He pulled open the door, and there was a guy standing there ready to fight, and he kicked him underneath the chin with his steel-toed cowboy boot, knocked him right over the front porch, and and the battle was on. But that was exactly what he was like,
That's you shouldn't be kicking fuckers in the face. I talking about some country living. I saw a kid get kicked in the face with a steel-toed boot before too. That was it was not a non-toxic situation though. Like what? I saw this happen. There was a fight. My friend basically was like, "Hey, don't get up." The kid was on the ground. He goes, "Don't get up," because he was like threatening somebody. Anyway, the kid's like, "Fuck you," and he got up. And the guy, his name is Jim, and he knew how to kick people. He took MMA stuff for a long time, and he had these boots on. And I remember the sound of him connecting with this fucking guy's head, dude. It was like crack, and it was like surprising. And then his like face goes like this, and I remember his face going like side to side in slow motion. And his brother looked down at him and was like, "Bro, are you okay?" After he got kicked in the head. And in the most earnest moment I've ever seen in any fight ever, the kid that got kicked in the head like shook his head and sort of looked over in his brother's direction and goes, "No." Like he was not okay. Yeah. Anyway, those kids kind of deserved, I mean, they were like trying to be violent at people, and dude was like, "Don't be violent," and he was. So, but yeah, it was they deserved it. Yeah, it was like, yeah, definitely. We were young though. Dude, Burb. Thanks for went to Ian DJ Cooper. I know I always say like Ian J Cooper because I believe that was me protesting you not putting any capitals in your name. No, it's just like that. You okay, dude? No, it's great.
And he had his shadow was integrated. He was a great roommate. He he reciprocated everything. I always knew if I bought groceries one week, he'd buy it the next. Like, he was a straight shooter. You could trust him. But he was not naive, man. And that made him able to deal with delinquents and to help them. So that's part of that integration of that shadow.
Yeah, I go very deeply into the shadow in a chapter.
Why is this motherfucker talking about our deep, like, manly shadows? What is happening here? You think this fucking guy? Why is this guy and Jordan Peterson talking about how to unlock our inner alpha male? What's happening?
After my last book, The Laws of Human Nature, and I try and talk about how one integrates the shadow, because it's not an easy answer for that. People are kind of perplexed. Well, I have this dark side, and I explain a lot of where it comes from and how a lot of your aggressive impulses, like the room of 2-year-olds that you were talking about, you have that as well. I'm talking to the people that are my readers. You have that aggressiveness when you were young, and it got socialized out of you, and then it kind of got repressed, and it's like a lost self that lives inside of you, and it's screaming to come out.
Wait, I was right. What the fuck? He actually was talking about, like, we gotta let out the inner beast, bro. Like, fuck off. What are you talking about? What? Do you know that maybe we could approach aggression in a different way? Like, I'm a guy. I've experienced aggression in my life. Yes, we too have testosterone, fellas. I think maybe we might have a little more than this fella. I don't know. Maybe. I feel like I could beat his dad up. Let's just say that. And man, I don't really understand why we have to do this sort of like psychoanalyzing of like, maybe we should let dudes just fucking like attack each other. We gotta let out the like. Can we just maybe learn better behavior? Maybe. What's the over-under at this guy has women chained up in his basement? 0. This man has no maidens. Are you kidding me? Look at this fucking guy. Maidenless. All right? Maidenless.
How do you integrate it? And so the main thing is you have to be aware that you have this shadow side. You can't run away from it. You have to acknowledge that it exists. You almost have to embrace it in a way.
A good parent too does everything he or she can not to repress that. Like, what you want to do with children is you want them to be forceful. You want them to have some power.
Exactly.
You want them to integrate that capacity for aggression into, well, let's say, lucid conversation. You want them to be able to stand up for themselves in family discussions. If you just punish them for being aggressive, let's say, for talking back or something like that, you don't guide that into more sophisticated development.
Wait. What's the Count Dooku doing? He does look a little bit like Count Dooku. I think maybe Jordan Peterson and other righties have like a misconception about like how lefties engage in like parenting or something. Like, this isn't about like, we're not telling kids not to ever stick up for themselves or not talk back. Have you met a leftist? Have you talked to one? It's not like they're fucking meek and quiet and just don't fucking yell at folks when they're wrong. What do you mean? Maizelbub. Spiderkowski, thanks for giving one to Andro Khan, dude. Appreciate it. Who is teaching their kid not to like have any aggression whatsoever? It's about being aggressive at appropriate times, not just fucking like punching walls and shit when you get upset that a girl doesn't like your unsolicited dick pic, dog. Oh man, it's weird shit. Can I ask a question? Hey, young Bogler dude, are you having an okay night? I just like looked away and you have you're manic right now. Holy fucking shit. Jesus, you just type fast. All right, so here's what's gonna happen, man. I'm gonna give you a little timey wimey. Yeah, relax. Well, it's not about the quantity of shots, okay? It's about the quality of the shots you take in chat. All right. Instead of just like instead of just doing that, why don't you relax and make some quality contributions to chat. There we go. Easy.
You see this in schools too now. You know, when my kids went to school, this was so dumb. We had a rule in our house, which was you don't have to follow stupid rules.
That's a good rule.
But if you get caught, you have to put up with consequences. But
Right.
So one rule was the school had, not only could you not throw snowballs, you couldn't make them. And so they were trying to, yeah, exactly. You should shake your head. That's for sure. It's like, because they're,
I mean, have any of y'all grown up with snowballs? I mean, I totally understand why some schools would get rid of them. I mean, I don't care if you make a snowball. Honestly, I think live your life and make as many snowballs as you want. But like, having lived in Michigan and grew up here, I mean, there were some pretty fucking nasty snowball fights. They're not fun, all right, when you're a kid. Sometimes that shit's straight up war. Okay? We don't need to like necessarily poo-poo if like they have a snowball problem at a school and fuckers are putting ice balls in there and chucking them at their fellow students. I think there maybe you could have like, here's the snowballs. Go ahead and do snowballs, and we'll watch. And if you hurt each other, then we're gonna have to calm everybody down. That's fine. You can have some supervised snowball fights. You can have some unsupervised snowball fights. But I'm telling you, man, we got nasty out there. We're putting rocks in that shit. You better believe it. We were savages, man.
answer, and this was all politically correct nonsense, non-competitive games. We're only going to play non-competitive games. Yeah. It's like, first of all, I studied Piaget.
Yeah.
A hockey game is not competitive exactly, because in a hockey game, well, no one brings a basketball.
What?
Everybody plays hockey. So that's cooperation. And then on the team, you have to cooperate. And like, if you're the star, but you never pass, you're just a dumb son of a bitch. You're not the star. And so
I don't know.
There's tremendous amount of
non-jocks talking about sports. Okay. All right. This is my lane. All right. The rest of you don't know what you're talking about. You stay the fuck out over there and you do your band over there where you have talent. I don't have this. You make beautiful music, or you go write your beautiful words, or hang out in drama class, which, by the way, shout out drama class, I should have joined. But I'm a jock, okay? This is my lane. You don't know what you're talking about, man. This is weird. I don't like it. Flute? I mean, go for it. Band is valid. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but I'm not going to come in the band lane and start driving around and cutting people off. You know what I'm thinking? I mean, it's just not happening.
Cooperation in all those competitive games, they're integrated. And this idea that, you make children better by not allowing them to be competitive.
It's disgusting.
It is. That's the Freudian devouring mother, right? That's, everyone's safe and no one's going to ever hurt anyone. And
that's kind of where a lot of young people are, they enter the world where.
I think this is fascinating too. I know I'm pausing a lot, but I mean, I have a lot of wrong. I famously have some disagreements with Jordan Peterson. Again, he has a misconception about what like a lefty or someone who he thinks is soft would teach a kid. Like, I have talked many times about how I think it's super valuable for people to engage in sports and to learn how to lose and to learn how to like fucking engage. Like, I have like DGGers in my mentions on Twitter right now being like, I would fucking KYS if I got embarrassed in a debate on the internet. And I'm like, first of all, I can't imagine being embarrassed about being right about something the whole time, because I was right. He's toxic. I'm right about that. Number two, I cannot imagine wanting to die from embarrassment. Now, that's not to say that some people don't have anxiety issues or whatever, but every DGGer? What the fuck, man? Some of y'all need to relax. That is a lot. Like, I don't know how to describe this, man. You need to learn how to just be okay with other people, like, thinking that you suck or something. Holy fucking shit. Even if they're wrong about you sucking, which, yeah. But, like, man, if you can't just have some folks out there being like, you lost. Like, come on. So, like, when we're lefties and we're talking about how to raise kids as far as like the participation trophy shit, you should feel good about participating in something and trying really hard even if you lose. That's what the participation trophy is about. You know what I'm saying? Like, and frankly, I don't even know that people just get participation trophies. Is this a thing? I didn't get them growing up, but I was told that I did growing up. I had trophies from succeeding, but even so, Like, the only participation trophy I ever remember was the boomers gave it to me. It wasn't my generation giving them out. Was for T-ball. We got like we did the T-ball thing, and they gave us like little medals and juice boxes. That was it. Yeah, Maps, exactly. Thanks for the 50 biddies. Yeah. Participation trophy. Just like the participation trophy, you should feel excited about, like, because they're not giving them to like college kids and high schoolers. They're giving them to children, like kids, young kids, which is good. That's a good thing. Do you think maybe you could have been a better person, bro, who doesn't like participation trophies, if maybe you were validated a little more often growing up? Like, did you know that guys don't grow up getting validated very often? I know it feels like they might, but they really don't get validated in the way that, like, I think they ought to. Like, men get validated, having grown up a man, men get validated in very strange ways for sometimes very toxic reasons. But I think, like, for instance, think about this. How many guys do you know that are scared to tell, like, this was a joke, actually, I think that Daniel Sloss made ages ago. But just thinking of the example now. How many guys do you know right now, irrespective of age, that they wouldn't be able to, like, just straight-facedly give another man friend like a compliment without, like, qualifying it? Like, you can't just say, like, hey man, I really appreciate you. You're like a really good friend, and I'm happy to be around you from time to time, man. I appreciate it. Instead of saying, like, no homo or whatever after. You know what I mean? Like, how many guys do you know that are capable of doing that? I'm capable of doing that, but it took work. You know what I mean? Like, it, and I think that's a sign of kind of a more reasonable individual. Not to toot my own horn, but I know a lot of people like that, and I've learned a lot from people that were better at it than I was, and having to, like, get to that point only after drinking. You shouldn't need confidence to fucking just tell somebody how you feel about them. And I know that is the case for a lot of people, not just men, but, like, a lot of people. And I don't mean romantically necessarily. You know, that can have different, you know, that's a different stress. But, like, I mean, like, just like a friend to a friend, or just somebody that you appreciate, like, letting them know that you appreciate them is a skill, in my opinion, that a lot of dudes specifically don't have. Like, and women are good at small validations to one another. Not to just gender this, but I mean just the way we socialize. Men don't give, like if you the experience of being a man and watching two women who don't know each other just compliment each other in genuine ways and being excited for one another, like, oh my god, your hair looks so good. It could seem like a little, like, pithy thing that doesn't matter, but guys do not exist in that environment. And that's why some dudes, and I'm not saying this is on women to do because it's not. Some dudes, when a woman compliments them, they misinterpret that for, like, sexual interest, because we get validated so infrequently by women in that way that it's like, oh, it must be that happening. You know what I mean? Like, it does happen. Guys talk about this all the time. And that's like a societal problem. You know what I mean? Meek, thanks for the 50 biddies. The thing I hate about DGG... Wait, we're talking about DGGers? Oh, he doesn't look good. Wait, do we have another person? Was this same person? Was the slimy person just the exact same person with a different account? Huh. Has to be, yeah. Nah, dude. I mean, you're just timed out, man. It just is what it is. Unless you tier 3 sub, you cannot spam my chat like that. That's the rules. You just don't get to. Tier 3 sub, and you get to a little bit, but not a lot. By the way, chat, I have this Waterloo sparkling water. Here's the real-time review. It smells delightful. It's black cherry. Let's see. It's just a sparkling Wawa. Here we go. Moment of truth. Uh-oh. That's delightful. I like it a lot. It's a little artificial flavor. Like, it's definitely like black cherry flavor. But it's tasty. It's no Spindrift, but I'll drink it. Better the second time. Yeah, I'm glad I got that. Cool. Love a seltzy, chat. It sort of tastes a little bit like medicine on the way up, though. Like you burp it, a little medicine-y. That's okay. Is it sweet at all? No, it's a seltzer. They're not sweetened. That's why I like them. It's just carbonated water with a little bit of like flavory stuff. Tasty. Oh, wrong screen.
They've been coddled where they think that there are no winners, that everyone is, it's just win-win situations.
Yeah, they don't have any sugar in them.
And that's where they get really shocked by the realities of the world. So all this
The vibes in chat are off tonight. Wait, do we have some haters? We've had like 2 weirdos. I'm not really paying attention though. If I'm honest, I'm just reading everything that I'm reading has been pretty cool. Love you, chat.
coddling and this idea that there doesn't have to be a winner. We don't have to get prizes for first place. Everybody should get a prize. All you're doing is setting...
That is not the standard that anyone sets. Holy shit. You're good, young blogger? Are you good? Are you good? Okay, we'll see.
Your children up for massive, shocks when they enter the world and they see that it's not like that.
Yeah, and then they get disillusioned and depressed, or traumatized by it. I mean, when my son's hockey team in his school, they won the city championship.
You all get vibe checked. I hope you know this. You pass or you fail. Pass or fail. That's the only scale of vibe checks.
Championship, which was a big deal, and the school was pretty happy about that. And to his credit, so was the coach. But the principal, who was this authoritarian empath, she was an awful person, I thought.
Authoritarian
empath.
That's
empath. Yeah. She used
like
moral
that.
virtue as a club.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was there's plenty of those people around.
Yeah,
and she said, well, really, today we're all winners. And the coach had exactly. No, it is sickening because my son was just appalled by it, but the coach had enough guts. He said, no, the hockey team won. And it's not like the kids in the school were jealous. Some of them were, obviously, but most of them were really happy, like you are when your sports team wins. And most people are generous enough so that they're able to celebrate someone else's victory without. And that's the same. I saw this with birthday parties. I just bloody well hated this. It's like, well, every child gets a gift bag. It's like, no, they have their damn birthday. Every child doesn't need a damn gift bag.
This is a weird. His son was appalled by that. I don't know. If so, in sportsmanship, having been in the sports, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of the space, I guess, the community of sports players and enthusiasts and enjoyers and coaches and stuff. Sportsmanship is a thing, right? Now, it's not all the time, especially once you get to the more professional levels. You don't really need to as much. There's a little respect given to individual players and stuff, but you can say that the other team played well even if they lost. This is normal. It's not like the jock community, the marginalized jock community, goddammit. It's weird to me that they think that. Look at these fucking guys. Okay? Why are you in my fucking lane right now? I don't understand. I do not personally understand how you can just hop into my jock lane, man. They know hockey. They don't know hockey. Didn't he call it a game of hockey? I don't know, man. I don't know, dude.
And it's this,
go to the hockey floor and play some hockey.
This same naive, treacly, and it's authoritarian too, because it imposes this kind of view of the world. It's like, no, it's this kid's day to be special. That's why we're celebrating this kid. The rest of them, if they can't take that, it's like there's something wrong with the way that they've been treated. And it tends.
They're trying to draw a line somewhere between the entitlement. The idea of entitlement to like participation trophies and like what they believe is entitlement to like money and funds and shit by leftists or whatever, which is obviously it's not a through line there. Again, if you lose in a competition, that's fine. You get to lose and you understand that you lost, and there's not winning after you lose. You lose. That's it. Everyone's fine with that. I don't think most people are not okay with the thought of losing. And if you are not okay with the thought of losing at all ever, well, that's a you problem, not the concept of competition, because competition is fine. Competition can be good between people. It just depends on what the competition is, right? Is everyone treated equitably? Then yes, it's a good thing. Did everyone agree to do the competition? Sure, which is why it's unethical to do capitalism, because it's an unethical competition between everybody, and the price is your fucking survival. That's why you didn't consent to do that. If you wanted to go to Capitalism Island and go participate in capitalism, I would be 100% in favor for that. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? You say that giving goodie bags is authoritarian. Did I hear that right? Authoritarian empath, which is, I guess, being so nice that you use your niceness as a bludgeon. But that's not what empathy is, being nice.
Too.
Well, a lot of my books, I try to remove the kind of taboo or the negative associations we have with a word like power or with the word ambition. I try and say ambition is a good thing. It means that you believe in yourself, you have some self-love, and you believe you're worth something, and you want to go out and achieve and create something worthwhile for other people. So ambition is a positive thing. But so many people are just kind of embarrassed about being a human being, embarrassed about our primate nature, embarrassed about our own aggressive impulses.
This is partly what
Our aggressive impulse. There's not an embarrassment about aggression, guys. It's not embarrassment. We're not worried about like, oh, what will the people think about? No, it's actually the effect of aggression that aggression has on folks, like their material well-being. That's the aggression we're worried about. The aggressive actions and their effects on the people that are aggressed. Not like, oh, I was aggressive and now I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. And Fraggle, thanks for following. I'm embarrassed by my ripping farts. Not your best work.
why boys are failing in our schools now at a disproportionate rate.
We're just sort of throwing stuff at a wall, hoping to put it
there's an assault of the sort that you're describing on the better part of striving masculinity. And, I had a friend who killed himself because he identified his ambition with, the patriarchal force that's devouring the environment, let's say, and that's the cause of historical horror. And you might say, well, no one takes that onto themselves to that degree. And you can say that, but that you just don't know what the hell you're talking about. People take that onto themselves all the time. And then they start to identify the best part of them that strives forward with the destructive impulses of humanity. And they're so ashamed because they can't do anything good then, but in principle, he tried to be as inoffensive and harmless in every possible way as he possibly could. And it just sucked all the life out of him.
Again, I don't know who's putting these standards on people. Do you think that we go through a painstaking process of not hurting anybody's feelings, guys? Like, how many people are stressed out constantly about, offending someone, assuming that you don't have, an anxiety issue in general? No, but you're worried, people hate you, right? You're like, oh, people, I said something, oh no, do they think I'm stupid? You're turning it inward. That's not what I mean. Right? Are you worried? Are you just worried about every word you say being psychoanalyzed? Because if you do, it's not because the left really enforces this and you can't say anything here. We talk all the time. I talk high as balls, hours and hours straight, many times a week. You know what I mean? Does it feel like I have to strain not to say shit that's fucked up about people? You know what I mean? If you have anxiety, you're like, oh, okay, I have that feeling, but I know that it's not necessarily always a reasonable feeling to have. That's a me thing, right? But are we worried about backlash? Actual being canceled constantly? Do you think really fucked up shit all the time? Oh, I really want to say a slur here, but I'll be canceled by the wokies. Of course not. This is not what's happening here. It's really not hard. And I say a lot of stuff, guys. It's not like we're the, nice. There's a difference between being way too fucking nice all the time, which is gross, I think. I don't think anyone's always 100% nice all the time, right? Sometimes you just fucking get frustrated with stuff. It happens. And then there's toxic. These are very different things. There is a toxicity to the intention that you have behind the things that you say. There's You know, and then there's just being sort of an asshole on accident, and there's being sort of insensitive, and there's being ignorant. There's lots of different ways to do it. Toxic is a different thing. Now, you could contribute to toxicity, right? And still be ignorant at the same time, but there's some shit that, like, you could do, and you're just like, you're a fucking asshole for that. It is what it is. There's not, like, a redeemable thing to say there. Peterson fan book was at the Dollar Tree? Hell yeah.
End up turning that aggressive energy on yourself is what ends up happening, and that's maybe leads to suicide, the ultimate kind of self-aggression. I know that I personally have, as I said, I definitely have a shadow side. I'm very aggressive and extremely competitive, and I have a lot of anger. So a lot of that, those experiences in my youth made me very angry. But the way I kind of integrated my shadow, I'm not saying this is a model, but the way I integrated it was through my books. I kind of, that anger kind of seeps through the material that I write, and I find I can only write when I have that kind of anger. But I don't rant. I don't yell and kind of put people down. I kind of channel it into something productive and something creative. And so to
I
me,
definitely do that when I'm lecturing. You know, and people have commented, you know, some of the people who've criticized me that I'm an angry person, and which isn't true. But it's definitely that anger, that capacity for anger definitely is something that gives you force, and it can push, and anger definitely. So psychophysiologically, so imagine that, this is obviously a thought experiment. Imagine you're chasing a cat with a broom. Well, the cat's going to run from the broom. But if you corner the cat with the broom, it will attack you, even though it's just a cat.
He's just a cornered cat, chat. Ready to strike. He's a cornered animal, letting out his violent side.
Well, and the reason for that is that fear will facilitate either freezing or escape.
Right.
But sometimes fear isn't the right response, and anger will suppress fear. And so one of the tools that we have at our disposal psychologically is anger as an antidote to the terror that would otherwise freeze you.
I
have a friend. He's a really good friend.
Playing more Jordan Peterson accent. I love when this type of personality, the type of person that thinks that they, like, you know a ton of answers to stuff, very earnestly try to, like, say something profound, but it just isn't. I love that shit. It's like so cringe, and it's sweet and delicious. It's a rare fruit, but when you get the chance to say a rich chat, do so. What a fucking scumbag, dude. The fire response. He does it. Oh yeah, Jordan Peterson is like the most professional at doing that as well. He just says mindless shit. He doesn't really, he doesn't say things. He has words that happen, and they don't really mean a lot. Very, very fascinating. And anytime he gets, like, close to making a good point, he fucks it up. It's a rough one, man. It's a rough one.